Today, I'm going to show you as much evidence as I can to convince you that the fentanyl was self-induced. That is the focus of my channel. I'm not here to tell you that Prince Rogers Nelson was murdered or anything like that. I'm here to tell you that the one we knew as Prince Rogers Nelson is the creator, and contractually he was being tortured, and there was a plan to sacrifice him in some way for all time, in some way that I can't really explain. And so the fentanyl was self-induced, which is why the medical examiner's report says decedent self-administered fentanyl.
Prince did not die from a Vicodin or Percocet overdose. The toxicology report is clear that Prince died from an overdose of fentanyl.
Here on 4/20, the blood test failed to show any fentanyl in Prince's blood. However, when they tested his blood on the 21st, it had 67.8 mcgs per liter of blood. When criminals are executed, they use 30 to 50 mcgs per liter of blood.
So even though I have the life after death meeting with the creator and he told me about the breakdown plan, I don't know exactly how it was pulled off. I have a couple of different thoughts. One is that someone died on the plane and they covered that up. And then the other is that Kirk maybe helped him get the fentanyl. I'm not sure, because when Judith Hill is giving her witness testimony, there's a part of it, and I'll show it to you in a minute, where she says on the plane that Kirk said, hang in there, little brother, and then we can't keep doing this to Prince. That's what he said. So that to me read as a little bit of guilt, although I think I've said before, I'm not sure if the creator had any friends or any help, but there are some statements that make me wonder, although there's no question that it was self-induced. Let's talk about Bloomington. Bloomington is a city in Minnesota. I believe it's north of Paisley Park and that. And during the investigation of the Glam Slam manager Paul Poditsky, that allegedly took place in June of that year, 2016, the fentanyl statistics were listed, and it said that the country's largest fentanyl bust was in Bloomington, where 3/4 of a gallon of fentanyl were found, liquid fentanyl. So Bloomington is extremely important because Sean Powell, Kirk's cousin, I believe he's the mysterious bodyguard Julius, and his address is a Bloomington address. Also, when Hannah and Josh and Judith talk about using an airport, they talk about an airport in Bloomington. Furthermore, the video for the detective shows that the Percocet that Kirk got on the 14th from Dr. Schulenberg was picked up at Portland Avenue in Bloomington, about 2:30, the same time somebody was supposed to be boarding a plane. So the fentanyl in Bloomington are where I'm hypothesizing, if you will, that the fentanyl came from. The other option is Andrew Reinhartz, the pharmacist from New York, who called Paisley Park 28 times between 12 and 12:50, even though the announcement wasn't made until 1 p.m. Eastern time. So somehow, some way, this pharmacist who calls himself a super fan called Paisley Park 28 times, an hour before it was announced that he died. And not only that, his New York address is less than an hour from Howard Kornfeld's New York address. So though they say that Howard maintains Mill Valley, San Fran doctors out there, he has a New York address that, yes, that's right, is less than an hour away from a New York pharmacist that called Paisley Park 28 times. So those are a couple of the options of fentanyl. But I'm going to show you a couple things. I know the evidence can be hard to see sometimes, but I try to zoom in on it the best that I can and then come here to fill you in a little bit as well. So let's look at a couple of the witness statements that talk specifically about where Prince got it. They're not saying where he got the pills, where he got whatever. They're saying where he got it. Check this out.
Kirk was in the room and he just said stuff like, you know, we can't keep doing this to Prince. And he's like, we're here for you, little brother, and all that. So some of the things that you're telling us, I mean, I hate to use the word suicidal, but does Prince seem depressed and like he's, well, it was 50-50 for me. Here, right at the top, Judas says, yeah, I wish I had more. I can't imagine where he got it. It. Not the pills, it. This is Sean Powell, Kirk's cousin. Let me show you his address. According to the crime scene log, there was a Sean Powell who arrived on scene, etc. And checking Kirk Johnson's Facebook page, etc., Sean Powell, Manuel's description, Sean Powell, here at the bottom, 6 foot, 350 pounds, with an address of 7802 West Blankety Blank, Bloomington, Minnesota. So we know there's a house in Minnesota, owned or rented by someone affiliated with Paisley Park. Here we see that the largest fentanyl bust, not only in the state but the country, nearly 3/4 of a gallon, was seized from a home in Bloomington. This was, I believe, in the summer of 2016. This evidence that I'm going to show you next is the Walgreens. When this officer received the email, the first video was from a Walgreens located at 7845 Portland Avenue in the city of Bloomington. So this is the date that the 4/14, the date that the Percocet was filled. So at least one of the videos that the detective reports on is from a Walgreens in Bloomington. It shows down here that the Walgreens Corporation is doing business as at Portland Avenue in Bloomington, Minnesota. So the media doesn't talk much about it, but on the 14th, Dr. Boo, a dentist, prescribed medication too. In her testimony, when she heard the story from Kirk about the plane story, she called it, she said, you don't just go to fentanyl overnight. So according to Officer Lombardi, Dr. Boo told them that she was a practicing clinician and that she only knew what she had read. Dr. Boo said, you just don't go to fentanyl overnight. And then I obviously can't prove to you that the fentanyl was self-induced. I have proved that there is a connection in Bloomington and that it involves Sean Powell, Kirk's cousin. Pills were found in his name at a home after the fact and turned into the police, and it was verified that it was Kirk's cousin. I believe he's the mysterious bodyguard that goes by Julius and is at the end of one of the songs. We gets up on the Emancipation, and he says, Big Julius in there, you know, the sleazy one. I have a video about it on TikTok. So Julius is also, while I'm on the subject, one of the Moline plane landings, because there are a couple at least, one of the landings depicts a bigger black guy, over 300 pounds, carrying Little Prince out of the plane. But then the other description goes on to say that it was Kirk Johnson. Well, Kirk Johnson is not over 300 pounds, nor would he be described as a big black guy. So that Sean Powell, I believe, is one and the same mysterious bodyguard. So I don't want to get too far off subject of the drugs and the reason for the pharmaceuticals and why Prince Rogers Nelson would want to self-induce fentanyl and why Carver County would cover it up, why they wouldn't just announce it. Well, they couldn't, obviously, because Paisley Park and Prince had this squeaky clean background of no drugs, no alcohol, no nothing. So then during the last 2 weeks of the man's life, they had to depict him as a drug addict and sell us this story. And as part of the sale, well, I'm not there yet. One moment.
they wanted to label him an addict, but also to lay the mystery in the world about, who done it, as with all the other singers, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, all of them. They want us all to believe they just, mysteriously die of drugs, because that's the rock and roll fantasy. But Paisley Park, the deepest MK Ultra of all time, involving not only the self-induced fentanyl, but the psychopharmacology doctor Andrew Kornfeld and his father, who specializes in bupropion Suboxone treatment. I'll explain to you the reason they were seeking Suboxone. The pharmaceuticals were being utilized at Paisley Park, and when they were found throughout the investigation, it was purposeful. They were placed there so that Paisley Park would have a higher chance of being found out and the investigation being made public. If they would have been able to charge somebody with a crime, then the case would have been closed and the information wouldn't be public, and a lot of this information would be harder to find, but I would find it anyway. So Schulenberg, Andrew Kornfeld, I'm going to show you their drug histories as well, so that you can understand why, when I say there was torture involved and somebody would want to self-induce fentanyl rather than the option.
Slowly candle burns. Where'd they learn hypnosis? How'd they keep me under for so long?
Slowly candle burns. Where'd they learn hypnosis? How'd they keep me under for so long? Well, I tell you, they just keep trying to break my heart. Juice in there. You mean, Big Julius. Hey, I know Big Juice is in there.
Nothing about this is normal.